Welcome to Karma Chronicles. Please like the video and subscribe. Let's begin. I knew exactly where I stood in my family. The day my mom introduced me to her friends as our youngest, she works in, what is it again, sweetheart? Insurance. She smiled like that was cute, like forgetting my career after 15 years was normal. My name's Rachel Delaney. I'm 35. I live in Wilmington, North Carolina. And yeah, technically, I work in insurance, but not the kind they picture. I work in high-risk recovery and fraud verification for stolen and forged cultural assets. Basically, when something goes missing, a six-figure painting, a sculpture, an artifact, I help track it, lock it down, and recover it. But in the Delaney family, I might as well have been selling car warranties out of a strip mall. Drew and Ethan, my older brothers, they were the golden ones. Both worked at the family gallery since college. Drew ran the business side, Ethan curated the art. They were local celebrities in their little bubble. The Delaney brothers, carrying on the legacy, the local press would gush. I wasn't part of that narrative. At family dinners, it was always, how's the gallery doing? What shows are coming up? Drew just met with a Parisian buyer. Then a quick glance my way. You still doing that insurance thing? Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. It wasn't just casual ignorance. It was a line in the sand. My career didn't fit the family story, so they brushed it off. I'd bring up a case I was working, a multi-million-dollar forgery ring we broke up in Tampa, and Mom would nod like I was talking about a dream I had. Oh, how exciting, she'd say, already turning back to Ethan, talking about lighting in the gallery. Then things started slipping for them. The gallery lost a major client. Their loan for a London exhibit didn't pan out. Suddenly, the proud Delaneys were bleeding money, and instead of asking for advice, or even being honest, they turned colder, more bitter. We don't need help from outsiders, Dad said one night. He was looking right at me. That was the moment I realized. They didn't just see me as irrelevant, they saw me as disloyal. I swallowed my pride and cleared the dishes without a word. I scrubbed that last dish so hard, I almost cracked it, just to keep from saying what I was really thinking. 3 years ago, the cracks in the gallery weren't just showing. They were gaping wide open. The big international shows, all money pits. They'd sunk hundreds of thousands into flashy exhibits in Berlin and Madrid, hoping to chase prestige. Nothing came back but invoices and lukewarm reviews. But Dad wouldn't hear it. It's the market, he barked during one dinner. Tastes have gone down the toilet. Real art doesn't sell anymore. Everyone's chasing shock value. Drew nodded along, smug as hell. We're not adapting to trends. We're preserving vision. Ethan was quieter but still burning through cash at high-profile auctions like he was building a legacy collection. I stopped going to the gallery for a while. Every time I walked in, the air felt 10 degrees hotter. Desperate, tense, guarded. Drew stopped telling me what pieces he was acquiring. Ethan started dodging questions. They looked at me like I was a narc, not their sister. But the truth, I didn't need to ask questions. I saw everything. I noticed a Rothko knockoff listed as uncertified but promising. I watched a $20,000 shipment leave the gallery uninsured. I saw invoices marked cash only from buyers I'd red flagged in my own job years ago. Names linked to laundering operations in Brussels and Venice. They weren't just sloppy, they were reckless. I went home one night and stared at my laptop for hours, pulling up our firm's internal case database. 3 of the names tied to recent gallery sales matched open fraud investigations. I shut the laptop and pushed it away. I couldn't pretend I didn't know what I was looking at anymore. Quick note, while you're listening, tell us which country you're watching from. So I recused myself. Quietly, I logged it in our internal systems, flagged the possible conflict of interest, and stepped off any case that came close to the gallery. If it went bad, I wasn't going down with them. That was my line. But even then, I didn't say anything to them. Not yet. I wanted to believe maybe they were just clueless. Maybe they didn't realize who they were doing business with. Then I saw the Devereaux piece, a supposed rare private acquisition, listed under a buyer I knew was a known middleman for smuggled art out of Belgium. That wasn't ignorance. That was a choice. I brought it up gently, just once. Hey, that last sale. You might want to double-check the buyer's history. There's some chatter in my world. Drew didn't even look up from his phone. We don't need lectures from someone who pushes paper for a living. I blinked. It's not lectures. It's... We got it under control, Ethan cut in, flat and final. They had no clue what control even meant. They were playing in a world they didn't understand, burning through connections and reputation with both hands. And somehow, I was the problem. They kept calling me the outsider. But standing there, watching them sink deeper into mess after mess, I realized I wasn't outside the family. I was outside the delusion. I turned and walked out of the gallery without saying a word. I didn't step foot in the gallery again after that, but 6 months ago, I made the mistake of letting my guard down at home. I'd just gotten back from a 2-day recovery job in Baltimore. Rain, a busted zipper on my luggage, and a red eye that dumped me at the Wilmington airport just after 6 a.m., I was fried. Dad happened to be at my place when I got in, dropping off some old family junk Mom didn't want in the garage anymore. I didn't ask why he was in my house without asking. I was too tired to care. He offered to carry my bag inside, and I didn't stop him. Should've. While I was in the kitchen making coffee, I heard him call out, "Hey, Rach, what's this?" I turned. He was holding a folded ledger page I'd stuffed between my case notes, something I printed last minute before flying back. My stomach dropped. It was a reserve account balance sheet, one of the internal contingencies I monitored. It wasn't even the active one, just a quarterly summary. But still, it had the fund ID, partial case references, and the current liquid reserve balance at the bottom, $312,475.22. His eyes were locked on that number like it was a winning lottery ticket. "This is yours." "No," I said instantly, stepping forward. "It's not mine. It's part of my portfolio at work." "So it's your account?" "No, I oversee it. It's company money, tied to case-specific reserves for emergency seizure recovery. I just manage the movement when it's needed." He nodded slowly, still staring. 300 grand sitting in an idle account. I crossed my arms. "It's not idle. It's holding for a live case. It's restricted." "But it's under your name." "No, it's under my clearance level, not my name." He kept nodding like none of it mattered. "You realize," he said, "that kind of money could turn things around for the gallery." I set my coffee down harder than I meant to. "It's not your bailout fund, Dad." He raised his eyebrows. "I didn't say that." "You didn't have to." Quick note, before we go further, let us know where you're listening from today. I grabbed the page from his hand and shoved it back into the file. I could lose my job just for having this printed. You're not even supposed to be looking at it. "I'm your father," he snapped. "I'm not a damn thief." I stared at him. "Then don't act like one." His face went red. I didn't care. He didn't understand. None of them did. That reserve wasn't just some rainy day account. It was tied to an active investigation involving cross-border seizures and a potential restitution payout for a museum in Milan. I wasn't even supposed to have a physical copy of the balance off-site, but I'd been in a rush, and it was buried in a folder. I thought that was enough. Apparently not. I locked the file in my safe that night, changed the alarm code, re-enabled two-factor on everything. I didn't even tell my team what had happened. I didn't want to raise red flags without proof of wrongdoing. But my gut told me one thing loud and clear. He wasn't going to let that number go. The shift was instant. Within days of Dad seeing that ledger, everything became about family. I'd walk into the house, and Mom would already be talking before I got my shoes off. "You know, Rachel," she'd say from the kitchen, "families support each other in hard times. Not everything's about rules and contracts." Then came the coincidental family dinners, the surprise drop-ins. I hadn't heard from Ethan in 3 weeks. Suddenly he's texting me, "Dinner tonight. We miss you." Miss me, my ass. I went to one. Just one. They waited till I had a fork halfway to my mouth. Drew leaned forward, real calm. "We've been thinking about options for the gallery. There's still time to rebuild if we act fast." I didn't say a word. I already knew where this was going. Mom jumped in. "Your father said there's a fund at your job, something liquid. You don't even need to give it to us. Just help shift it over temporarily." Ethan shrugged. "It's not like it's your savings. What's the point of making all that money if you can't help the people who raised you?" I put the fork down. "You're not listening. It's not my money. I don't own it. I don't control it. It's corporate. It's tied to open case assets." Drew waved that off. "Come on, it's a legal gray area." "It's not." Dad cut in. "It's your account. It's your signature on the access logs. That makes it yours." I looked straight at him. "No, it makes it traceable to me, and if anything happens to it, I go down first." Quick note, before we keep going, drop a comment and tell us where you're listening from today. They kept hammering. You're the only one who can fix this. Family comes before company. You think your little job matters more than 30 years of our lives. I kept repeating the same thing. It's not a trust fund. It's not a bonus pool. It's not money sitting around. It's recovery capital, frozen until asset return, court proceedings, or seizure confirmation. Touching it would be tampering with corporate property, and if I even opened the portal from a personal device outside protocol, it would trigger a security flag. They didn't care. Drew looked at me like I was a child. You're just scared of bending a few rules, I snapped. Bending rules in my line of work lands people in prison. But it didn't matter. I could see it in their faces. They weren't trying to understand. They were just waiting for me to cave. Later that night, I found the front door unlocked. Not wide open, just cracked. Like someone stepped out and forgot to pull it shut. I walked through the house, checking drawers, cabinets, my office closet. Nothing missing, but one folder on my desk, a decoy one, filled with blank documents I used when traveling, had been moved. Not by much, just slightly tilted. My stomach knotted. I didn't have proof, not yet. But I knew what was coming. They weren't just pressuring me. They were planning something behind my back. 3 weeks ago, I walked into brunch already tense. I'd gotten a vague group text from Mom. Sunday, noon, family catch-up. No details, no warning. Just a location at some overpriced waterfront cafe they like to show off in. When I arrived, the table was full. Dad at the head, Drew and Ethan grinning like salesmen. Mom had that smug half-smile she wore when she thought she'd orchestrated something. Champagne already on ice. My gut sank. I sat down. No menus, no small talk. Dad cleared his throat, chest puffed. We fixed everything, he announced. I didn't blink. What does that mean? He grinned. We used your art fund. The gallery's going to bounce back. I felt the blood drain from my face. What art fund? The reserve, he said proudly. The lawyers figured it out. Emergency family hardship clause. We're covered. I stared at him. You what? Drew clapped him on the back. Told you we'd handle it. We're not amateurs. Ethan raised his glass. To the Delaney Gallery. Back on top. I didn't touch my glass. My voice came out flat. You stole from a private insurance contingency account. Mom waved a hand like I was being dramatic. Honey, stop. It's not stealing when it's family. You had it sitting there doing nothing. It wasn't sitting there. It was restricted corporate capital tied to active case assets. You hacked a regulated fund. Drew rolled his eyes. We didn't hack anything. We used credentials from your files. Same as if you'd done it yourself. I felt my stomach turn. You went through my files at the house. Relax, Ethan said. We only copied what we needed. I kept my hands flat on the table to stop them from shaking. Do you understand what you've done? That's identity theft, fraud, misappropriation of corporate assets, all under my clearance level. Quick note, before listening on, let us know which city or country you're joining from. They laughed, actually laughed. The lawyer said you'd overreact, Drew smirked. Dad leaned forward. Rachel, you're making this bigger than it is. It's a hardship clause. You're allowed to use it for emergencies. There is no hardship clause for family, I shot back. It's not a trust fund. It's not mine to give. You can't use it. Ethan tipped his glass toward me. See, this is what I mean. All rules, no loyalty. I took a slow breath. This isn't about loyalty. This is about federal crimes. You've put the gallery, and yourselves, on a direct collision course with criminal investigation. Mom's voice sharpened. We're your family. We raised you. And this is how you repay us, by threatening us. I'm not threatening you. I'm telling you reality. They still didn't get it. They were too high on champagne and self-congratulation to see the cliff they jumped off. I pushed my chair back and stood. Enjoy your brunch. I'm going to fix my side of this before you drag me down with you. And before any of them could speak again, I walked out, leaving the champagne untouched on the table. I drove straight home from that brunch, didn't stop for gas, didn't turn on music, just stared at the road with my jaw clenched so tight it hurt. The second I walked in the door, I locked it behind me, grabbed my laptop, and went straight to work. First, I opened the compliance portal and flagged the reserve account for breach. Then I pulled the access logs and cross-checked the timestamps with my own travel records, confirming I wasn't even in state when the transfer hit. Next, I uploaded screenshots, time codes, and metadata into a Level 3 internal fraud report, citing unauthorized withdrawal, compromised digital ID access, and suspected internal theft tied to external actors. I didn't use words like family. I used the language we're trained to use when someone violates federal law. Within an hour, corporate legal had the file. 2 hours after that, the response came through, escalated. External counsel was looped in. So was financial crimes. The entire fund portfolio I managed was locked for security review. The breach protocol kicked in, and now I was the reporting party on a live case. At midnight, I got the email I knew was coming. Shell transfer confirmed. Gallery linked front account opened under Rachel Delaney's digital ID. They didn't even try to hide it. They used my exact credentials to open a new commercial account, link it to a Shell gallery firm with a fake European consultant, and route the reserve money straight through. Classic laundering maneuver. I submitted every piece of evidence I had. The brunch conversation I'd recorded on my phone, metadata from the hacked PDF files they'd pulled from my backup drive, surveillance timestamps from my home security app showing Dad had been in my house when I wasn't there. By 9 a.m., the gallery's business accounts were frozen. By noon, the company had been flagged internally as a suspected laundering front. Quick note, if you're still listening, let us know what country you're watching from in the comments. I knew exactly what came next, and that none of them had a clue how deep they were in. They thought they found a loophole, a technicality. They didn't realize they'd tripped every alarm we had. I got a call from our senior recovery officer later that day. "Rachel," she said, voice low and serious, "you're not a suspect, but this is bad. We're treating it as corporate-level identity theft tied to an international fraud ring." I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. "Understood. You did the right thing by reporting fast. You know we have to move on this." "I know. Do what you need to do." I sat there after that call, staring at the screen as half my case access was locked out for auditing. It didn't bother me, because I didn't care about job protocol anymore. I cared about the fact that my own family thought they could rob me and walk away laughing. By Monday morning, investigators were already picking the gallery apart. Internal audit flagged every financial trail linked to the stolen reserve. 2 other galleries popped up in the records, shell companies tied to consultants that didn't exist. Within 72 hours, our legal team confirmed what I already suspected. The money had passed through accounts linked to 2 known stolen art brokers based in Prague and Marseille. I sat at my desk reading the report in silence, while my phone rang for the 4th time in 10 minutes. Dad, again. On the 5th call, I picked up. "Rachel," he said frantic, "I just got off the phone with one of your firm's investigators." "What the hell is going on?" "You already know," I said. "They're saying the gallery's under review for smuggling. For fraud. Are they serious?" "Very." I told them it was a misunderstanding. I told them you could explain. You can fix this. I stood up, walked to the window, and looked out at the street. Calm voice, firm words. "No, Dad, I won't fix it. I reported it. You broke the law. You used my credentials to steal restricted corporate funds. You routed it through criminal channels. This is what happens next." He didn't respond. I heard breathing, a small hitch in his throat. Then the line went dead. The next day, the gallery made the news. Federal agents executed a search warrant at the Delaney Gallery of Modern Art in Wilmington, North Carolina, citing suspected involvement in international art smuggling and corporate fraud. That headline hit before noon. I saw footage on the local news. Agents in jackets walking out with boxes, computers, file storage drives. Drew standing on the sidewalk in disbelief, arms crossed, refusing to speak to the press. Ethan pacing behind him. Mom nowhere in sight. A few hours later, my senior contact in legal called me. "Rachel, you did everything by the book," she said. "Your digital credentials are clean. Your report was timely. The internal firewall caught the breach. You're protected." I nodded, phone pressed to my ear. "Thank you. Do you need time off?" "No," I said. "I want to see this through." Quick note, still with us. Drop a comment and let us know where you're tuning in from. That afternoon, I got a knock at my door. A courier in a windbreaker handed me an envelope. It was the official report summary from our internal compliance division, the one I'd asked for, in writing, the second I filed the claim. I signed, closed the door, and sat down at the kitchen table to read it cover to cover. It was all there, every access timestamp, every transaction, every flag my team pulled once the breach was confirmed. Dad's face scanned into the gallery's security system the same day the fund was transferred. a matching login from my stolen ID to a public terminal 3 blocks away from my house. They weren't just guilty, they were sloppy. At 5 p.m., I got a short text from Ethan. "Why are you doing this to us?" I didn't answer. At 6, Drew emailed me some half-baked legal nonsense about cooperation and negotiated repayment if I'd rescind the complaint. I archived it and blocked his address. At 8 p.m., Dad tried calling again. I let it go to voicemail. The message was short. "They're coming for us. I hope you're happy." I sat in silence for a few seconds, then deleted it. This wasn't about being happy. It was about the fact that for once, I got to choose the rules, and I wasn't bending them for anyone. The text came the next morning. "Come to the house. We need to talk." No name, no punctuation. I knew it was Mom. I didn't want to go. I almost deleted it, but something in me, maybe curiosity, maybe just unfinished business, made me drive over. When I walked in, the energy in the room hit like a brick wall. No fake smiles, no greeting, just silence. Heavy, ugly silence. Drew sat on the arm of the couch, arms folded. Ethan paced like a caged dog. Mom was sitting at the dining table with red eyes and a tissue balled in her fist. Dad stood by the window, back to the room. No one said anything right away. Then Drew broke. "They're charging us," he said. "Fraud, theft, laundering." He looked at me like I'd lit the match myself. They froze every account tied to the business. The gallery's finished. I stayed standing. "You could have helped us," Mom snapped, voice already shaking. "You let this happen." I blinked. "I warned you. I told you again and again that fund was a restricted corporate reserve. You didn't just ignore me. You went behind my back and stole from it." Ethan stopped pacing. "We thought you were being dramatic." I turned toward him. "No, you thought you were above the law. And now you're learning what real consequences look like." He looked down. "Quick note, if you've made it this far, take a second and let us know what country you're listening from." Nobody else spoke for a long beat, just the soft ticking of the wall clock behind them. Dad finally turned around. His eyes were sunken. His jaw looked like it hadn't unclenched since the search warrant. "You had no right to turn us in," he said. "I had every right," I fired back. "You used my name. My credentials, you dragged me into it. I had to report it. It wasn't just about you anymore." He didn't argue. He just went quiet again, staring down at the hardwood floor. Mom pushed up from the table. "We're family. You don't do this to your family. You don't steal from your daughter and then expect her to cover your ass," I snapped. Drew scoffed. "You think you're better than us, just because you work some flashy job and carry a badge." "No," I said flatly. "I think I understand consequences better than you do. That's the difference." Ethan looked over. "We trusted you." I let out a laugh, short and bitter. "You didn't trust me. You used me." That's not the same. Nobody had anything left to say after that. I looked around the room at the people who'd once made me feel like the spare part of the family, and for the first time, I didn't feel small. I didn't feel like the outsider. I felt like the only adult in the room. Dad didn't lift his head again. Not once. He just stood there, silent, broken in a way I'd never seen before. I turned, walked to the door, and left without saying goodbye. By the time I got back to my place that night, my firm had already pushed the case up the chain. I got the internal memo just before midnight. Due to the international connections and the size of the fraud, the feds were taking over. I sat on the edge of my bed, phone in my lap, staring at those words like they were in bold even though they weren't. I didn't sleep. Within days, the Bureau tied the stolen reserve funds to a laundering ring operating out of France, Belgium, and Hungary. The same shell account my family funneled the money through had been used before, for fake auctions and forged provenance documents. Dad's face hit the news next. North Carolina gallery owner charged in international fraud investigation. He pled guilty 2 weeks later. Fraud, conspiracy, wire crimes. He got 8 years. I didn't go to the sentencing. I didn't write a letter. I didn't show up in court. I didn't need to. Drew and Ethan avoided prison. Barely. They cooperated once they realized jail was on the table. Claimed they didn't know where the money was going. Their punishment: lifetime bans from holding fiduciary roles or operating an art business in the U.S. Basically, their entire careers gone. The gallery was seized and auctioned off. Paintings, furniture, computers, wine fridge, everything. Proceeds went straight into restitution. Quick note, While you're here, let us know in the comments what country you're watching from. Mom lost the house. Turned out she'd put it up as collateral for their legal defense. She didn't tell me. I found out from a friend at the clerk's office who flagged the foreclosure. Now she rents a condo across town. She still won't look me in the eye. Last I heard, Drew was working at a framing shop in Raleigh. Ethan was trying to sell local artists' prints online under a different business name. Both of them still blocked me on every platform. But word gets around. They blame me. All of them do. They say I betrayed them, that I should have handled it quietly, that I brought shame on the family, that I let Dad go to prison, that I destroyed what they built. They tell everyone who'll listen. Rachel sold us out. I don't respond. I don't argue. I don't correct the story because I know the truth. I didn't ruin them. They did that to themselves. One arrogant, entitled, desperate decision at a time. 2 months after sentencing, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten, no return address, postmarked from the federal facility in Butner. I knew it was from him before I even opened it. The handwriting gave it away. The same tight, slanted block letters he used to write notes on gallery receipts. It was only 1 page, folded in thirds. I get it now. That was the first line. I didn't believe you knew what you were talking about. I didn't think it was real. I thought it was just corporate overkill. I'm sorry I didn't listen. I read it once, standing in my kitchen. Then again, slower. There was no begging, no excuses, no rage, just regret. And for once, the tone sounded like my dad. Not the version who shouted at everyone in meetings. Not the man who stood over me, accusing me of being disloyal. Just the guy who used to teach me how to wrap canvases in the back of the gallery. Quick note, before we wrap up, tell us what city or country you're watching from in the comments. I didn't write back. I didn't tell anyone I got it. I slid the letter into a file folder already thick with paper. Case logs, screenshots, audio transcripts, subpoenas, the official closeout letter from our legal team. It all lived in a fireproof lockbox in my office closet. That letter sat on top now, not as a keepsake, as proof. Proof that I did exactly what I was supposed to do, even when it cost me everything. People think high-risk recovery is just about stolen paintings and rich collectors. It's not. It's about knowing the difference between bad luck and criminal choice, between ignorance and intent, between silence and responsibility. They chose crime. I chose accountability. And if it all happened again, same faces, same folder, same numbers staring back at me, I'd still report it. No hesitation, no guilt. Same damn call.